For those of you who doubt the sealing of the files in the Woods Royal Commission and the Royal Commission into institutional abuse, let me just share a little bit of my journey with you in relation to that. So in 1995, the police create the Woods Royal Commission, or the government, whoever the fuck did it. In 1996, they arrived at my door unannounced, and in front of my partner at the time, who didn't know I'd been through abuse, exposed me as a victim of sex crimes, right? They actually said in front of my partner, Glenn, you've been identified by multiple people as a victim of these sex crimes, right? Now, I gave evidence to the police. They actually took me back to the station. I gave them information on Paul Jones, Ken Fogley, and all the men from the Refuge and the Homeless Children's Association and in King's Cross. But they manufactured my statements. They doctored, my statements. And but what ends up happening was I end up giving evidence at the Woods Royal Commission. I have two men convicted, right? One man's name's Paul Chetwynd Jones, who lived in Corunna Road, Petersham, and the other guy's name was Ken Fogarty, who worked for O'Brien Glass. And Paul Jones was a counsellor at the Refuge who was abusing multiple kids. He had about 20 kids living in his home that he was abusing a handful of, and coming to the Refuge and abusing the children at will, right? So these two men get convicted. I give my evidence, and then what happens is they sealed my file. They sealed my file for 99 years. Now, this isn't a fucking joke. This fucking happened. I exposed to them the Prime Minister, Bob Hawke, who was on the committee of the Refuge I lived in. I told them about the founding member of the Refuge, whose name was Rob Blackmail, who's a senior magistrate at Bajura Children's Court, who prior to that ran Albion Street Court, right? I also named 7 other judges, the leading privacy advocate in the world, who was also a journalist, freelance journalist for the Sydney Morning Herald, and also wrote a book called Shooting Up. The head of NZO Insurance, Grant Morris, who I've had convicted. Simon Davies, I've had convicted. These are actual facts, right? You can Google this. I was on A Current Affair. All this stuff's been fucking proven, right? That these files were fucking sealed. There was a general, the CEO of St Vincent's Hospital. Anyway, I gave out 22 names myself, 22 fucking names of high-profile men who were abusing children, and a woman, Annette Crowe, who was complicit in my abuse. In 2012, I end up coming forward and Parramatta Police and a sex crime squad there create what's called Strike Force Boyd, where I'm asked to wear a wire, and I do wear a wire against one of my abusers, which is Grant Morris. And because of my coming forward, the police went and investigated multiple stories which actually gave closure and convictions to other victims of these crimes. In 2015, I again give evidence in the Royal Commission into Institutional Abuse. And I am working with a journalist named Ross Coulthart. Oh, no, sorry, it was before Ross Coulthart. I was working with a journalist named David Hartacre, who ironically is the journalist who wrote the piece on my girlfriend who was murdered, whose people who killed her were given 20 years jail, but then they appealed and went before another fucking grub named Judge Yeldon. And Judge Yeldon released her killers, set them free on appeal, and then took his own life, right, unalived. Then I give evidence at the Royal Commission Institutional Abuse, and again they steal my fucking file. So David Hartacre and I, again, we went to where the Royal Commission was into institutional abuse in the city to get my file so that it could be made for a story that he was doing at the time, which he then referred to Ross Coulthart from 60 Minutes, and they were going to do my story. And the two reasons that my story never got told was they allowed me to go into a room and read my file. I didn't have a fucking Hardy Cologne or phone, or I could have done these ones with it. You know, the saddest part about it was when I actually gave the second Royal Commission interview, I had a friend of mine with me, John. I won't say his last name, but John can write him below if he wants. This is true. And after the whole interview that I did, John recorded it. I didn't know he'd recorded it, right? And when we left, after that, I had to go and see these counsellors. And then after we were walking down the street, John says to me, I recorded all of your fucking interview. And I lost my shit, right? And I said, how fucking dare you? I felt vulnerable, I felt exposed, and I said, you fucking delete that shit. At that point, I didn't know what I was about to find out. They again sealed my fucking file for 99 years. So I now have done 2 Royal Commissions where they've sealed my fucking file. It's a fucking fact, man. It's not fucking a made-up conspiracy. It's a fucking fact. My story has been proven in not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 separate trials with 4 separate convictions, 2 royal commissions, and a current affairs story, another story that's about to come out in October called The Rise and Fall of King's Cross. It's not a fucking made-up story, man. So all of you around there that's saying it's a conspiracy and it's all this and it's all that, 128 police officers were stood down, sacked or retired or whatever the fuck from the King's Cross, Central, Chatswood and Parramatta precincts after the Royal Commission. Think about that. 128 corrupt police. Now, what they used to do in the Cross, right, was that these predators would come there and purchase children, little boys and little girls, in strip clubs, nightclubs, places like Brett Boys, different places you've probably never even heard of, right? Purchase these fucking children, but in the back, there were cameras, right, that was filming them. They used to film these grubs doing these crimes. So somewhere in our country, there is literal video footage of these fucking grubs abusing children that probably died with Abe Zaffron, right, Mr. Sin or Freeman. Because what happened was, once they got these videos that they filmed of these kids, they would use them to blackmail politicians, all these high-profile businessmen, superstars, movie stars, sports stars, police, lawyers. I'm telling you, in Costello's, in Kellett Street, in the back streets of the Cross, it was the who's who of Australian politicians that would come in there and sit at a table with about 6 other politicians, and in between them were 12, 13, 14 and 15-year-old boys. These are all fucking facts. Anybody who's followed my story, I pride myself on authenticity and I pride myself on honesty. And I've done this at my own fucking expense to my own life. Nothing I have said isn't right. So I just challenge you to really revisit that thought process where you think that it's a fucking conspiracy to expose those in the government. It's fucking not. I was invited by Simon Davies, whom I've had convicted, who's in jail right now doing 10 years and will be extradited back to the UK, who introduced me at the Sydney Hotel Marble Bar to Bob Hawke and other high-ranking politicians at the Hilton Hotel at a summit or meeting that they had. I've forgotten what they called it, but it was some sort of meeting to raise money for a thing called the Forest Farm Project up on the Central Coast, where they were going to create a farm in Forest Farm where we actually had a woman named Annie Crow who ran King's Cross Resource Centres, who was recruiting fucking little children, taking to the refuge of the 5 men who worked there, abusing them, and then going to relocate them to the Central Coast so that they could do with them as they wanted. And they were being funded by the government. I was riding a push bike around collecting funds in little envelopes all over fucking Sydney from all high profile men. This is fucking fact. This is police statements that I've made, proven in a fucking court. It's time Australia stands up together and unites with the people like myself who have been through this fucking shit pretty much since the age of 9 years of age, when my abuse seriously started in my life, where the system failed me repeatedly. They put me into orphanages, they put me into boys' homes where I'm abused, and from the boys' homes they put me into foster care where I'm abused, and then I end up on the streets of King's Cross where I'm abused again. My whole childhood was plagued by fucking grubs. But I'm alive, I'm clean, I'm sober today. Do you know how many children aren't? I cannot even begin to tell you the amount of children who arrived on the streets of King's Cross as 12, 13, 14-year-old, big beautiful smiles, and within weeks they're either addicted to heroin, stripping in clubs, working in brothels, sitting in the park, standing at the wall, trying to support their heroin habits that have been cruelly introduced to them by predators who pretend to be their friends. I'll give you something to eat, mate. I'll give you somewhere to live. Here, have some pot, have some alcohol, and let me chuck this at you as well. And you as a child thinking, wow, this adult's letting me drink, take drugs, how fucking cool are they? Until about 2 or 3 weeks into it where you're fucking no longer wanting it, you're fucking needing it. But then the demands change. They no longer are giving it away. You need to do all these different things in order to be able to support that fucking habit. And it goes one of 2 ways. Some people get angry like myself and start fucking robbing people or doing armed robberies or doing fucking serious crime, or others stand at the wall 24 hours a day trying to support a habit that has a shelf life of 4 hours. Everything I've said and many people say are true. But you are right, there are people out there who are making such outlandish fucking stories and have huge followings because people think, you know, and that's sad. I reckon those people are plants designed to make it look so fucking bizarre that the real stories like my own get hidden underneath the bullshit. Much love, everyone. Stand united.